What is going on, you guys? Welcome back for another video. Now today I don't have an article for you guys, but I did want to talk about the state of where Xbox is at this moment because it has been disappointing the past few months, and so I just wanted to share my 2 cents on it. Now before we get started, I just want to say I'm not allegiant to any kind of console. I have both PlayStation, Xbox, Xbox Series S and X, PC, whatever. I play whatever because I just enjoy gaming. Unfortunately, with this state that Xbox is in right now, it's been very difficult to get into anything that's been really released. Now, I've been a Game Pass subscriber for the past probably 4 years now, and I feel like I do get my money's worth out of it for the most part in the past 4 years. But as of recently, it's just been a very bit disappointing, and I tend to find myself playing the PlayStation a lot more. So I just wanted to share my 2 cents on it today. So after the release of RedFall and it being a 30 FPS game, it was supposed to be this big Xbox Game Pass first day release title, along with some other ones this year. And while RedFall was a bit of a shortcoming, being a 30 FPS, the game felt empty. It just felt very stale. It does have me worried for the future of Xbox, along with games like Starfield coming out, which in videos, and we've talked about it in the last Starfield video, looking like it's going to be 30 frames per second. It does have me concerned, is like, as a consumer of Xbox, the trust that I put into like Game Pass and stuff, am I going to get my money's worth anymore when these games are coming out broken? They're coming out with the technology that feels outdated, and what could they do to do better? Like, it's frustrating as someone who pays $15 a month and they get you all excited about Game Pass, day one releases, all this stuff, all their exclusives, and they're the most broken, boring games. And it really concerns me. Like, Starfield cannot fail at this point. They've announced so many things that we talk about on this channel, being Avowed, the new Fable title, anything like in that nature, and it's still, we haven't heard about those games in the past 4 years since they've got announced, and it kind of, it feels like Xbox is delivering a lot of empty promises. So one of the biggest gripes I have about just games in general right now is we're playing on the newer consoles. They came out in 2021, so technically current gen, but people still call them new gen. And we're still getting games at a $70 price point that has the frame rate of something we played on the Xbox, One original, the 30 FPS. That is, to me, is the biggest problem right now, is a frame rate issue. Like, 60 FPS should just be an industry standard at this point. And I always say that if a game cannot meet that 60 frame per second standard, then the game should not be priced at $70. You can't justify that. And where I do think PlayStation is outbeating Xbox is the fact that it has somewhat of a competitor to Game Pass. Now, the PlayStation service lacks in the department of like the classic titles. It has its handful of PlayStation 1, 2, PSP games, and PS4 games. However, the PS3 games, which was arguably one of the better generations for PlayStation, is only streamable games, which is not very ideal to play on yet. I don't think streaming games is at a point where it's even an enjoyable experience yet. Now, if you can't afford the consoles and you have the Game Pass on your Samsung TV and all you have to do is buy a controller, more power to you. I understand people have different situations, but just as a competitor right now with these things, looking at them objectively side by side, PlayStation definitely has the better service because you can pick a tier, which Game Pass somewhat has, and they still give you your decent, I'll say, 3 games a month on top of that service. And the exclusives that come out for PlayStation, while they're not a day one usually release on those subscription services, they're still very good games that you can most likely justify your $70 for, in my opinion. God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, the latest Gran Turismo game, even just some stuff that I know that is on Xbox as well, but Jedi Fallen Order, Resident Evil, and everything else coming up too, that looks really great on the PlayStation. But that's where Xbox's shortcomings are coming from, is they're not delivering these good, what made Game Pass better than the PlayStation was that you had those day one releases, except they're all broken, stale games. And I want to take a look. I found this article. Like I said, we're not covering game news, but I did find an article with a bunch of quotes from Phil Spencer on. He was on the Kind of Funny Xcast, and he was talking about the state of what Xbox is in. So I'm going to get into that. And it says, "We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo," said Spencer. "There really isn't a great solution or a win for us, and I know that will upset a ton of people. But it's just that the truth of the matter is that when you're in third place in the console market and the top two players are as strong as they are and have certain cases for a very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team, that's on us, not on anybody else. He added, I see the commentary that if you just build great games, everything will turn around. And it's not just true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're not going to see a console share shift in some dramatic way. Now, I disagree with that. I think, if Xbox was actually putting out some solid games right now, you would see people more excited to play that Xbox because you have those exclusives, hence Redfall, Starfield, like things like that are going to make people want to play the Xbox. But if you're hyping up these games that are going to be, these big next-gen console games, and they're terrible, and they're stale, and they're broken, and, things of that nature, of course people aren't going to flock over to you. So yeah, games is kind of the biggest thing for these consoles. Again, and he keeps going on, they talk about Starfield, and they have all these visions, and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, people buy a console usually specifically for the games that are going to be exclusive to it. Now, also, PlayStation adds in the extra, the controller is now in a more immersive experience with the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers. So when you're playing a game now on PlayStation, whether it's on Xbox or it's an exclusive, you're still getting a little bit more of an experience there. But again, you can't blame just the fact that people are hard locked into an ecosystem, because people, if the games are good, people will switch over and play something else, or own multiple consoles. I'm pretty sure most people do at this point. It's, people have the Xbox now, and, we're getting excited about these big day one releases on Game Pass, and it's the biggest disappointment, and then your Xbox just sits there and collect dust. I use it, my Series S now, mostly for just streaming videos like Netflix, ESPN, Disney, all that stuff. The Series X, I still play Halo from time to time. Again, another game that, solid launch and then crashed and burned very freaking hard. And being, one of Xbox's biggest IPs, you really couldn't let that one slip, and they did. And to this day, it still feels like there's no support on that game. And then we just had a decent wave, what felt like was going to be a decent wave of games that just came out on Game Pass, being, the Hi-Fi Rush announcement, Wolong, Fallen Dynasty. Redfall was supposed to be good. It wasn't. Starfield at this point has me very, very skeptical. And if Starfield is not good, it's going to be the nail in the coffin for Xbox. I think that's really where you're going to lose people. This is supposed to be the biggest game for Bethesda since, Fallout 4 and Skyrim and things like that. This is going to be their next big thing. And if this game's at 30 FPS and it's buggy as hell at the start, and I think Starfield's pretty much the biggest thing at this point on the horizon for Game Pass and Xbox as a console exclusive. If they don't get this one right, they're in trouble. Their Fable's not anywhere close. I don't think Avowed's anywhere close. There's a Forza game coming out, but okay. Not like rambling today about the state of what Xbox is in. I really hope they can turn it around, because I do, at the end of the day, think Xbox has a really good baseline and starting point to be a great console. It's just where they're doing something wrong, and they need to turn it around. And I think, again, where we talked about them not taking accountability, like saying the game, it's not just the games that'll turn around. I really highly disagree with that. I really do think that if Fall felt like the next gen experience and had that 60 frames per second, and the game had a little bit more life to it, people would be more inclined to want to play it. And that's where I do think these games are important. But again, that's just my thoughts. I really hope they can turn this around. I hope Starfield's good. I'm looking forward to it for the most part, but it does have me very skeptical. And again, like I said, if it fails, this is probably the nail in the coffin for Xbox. Thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble. Let me know you guys' thoughts down below on the state of Xbox and where you guys think it's going. Thank you guys so much for watching again. If you guys want to stay up to date on all the latest gaming news we cover, just hit the subscribe button, as well as just turn on the notification bell so you guys never miss uploads. As always, my name is Ross, and I'll see you guys in the next video.